I've always been a fan of arcade shooters, and I wasn't disappointed when our local chip shop, the one that we used to go to in our school lunchtimes, got a new arcade machine, which was another space arcade shooter. To me, Juno First looked and sounded like a cross between Activision's Beam Rider and Williams' excellent Defender. It looked frantic and fast, just how I like my space shooters, and it had a weird name, Juno First. What the hell did that even mean anyway? In the past month, I've taken delivery of two different versions of this game. One for the great MSX 8-bit computer platform, and the other, a 2018 homebrew version for the Atari 2600. So here, for your viewing pleasure, here's a look at three different versions of the great Konami space shooter, Juno First. Juno First was developed by Konami in 1983 and is a vertically scrolling shooter. I think the storyline is something about you being Earth's last defense and you're defending some space station called Juno or something like that. So before the aliens can actually take the Earth, they need to take Juno first. This was not particularly a popular arcade machine. I only ever recall seeing it once in our chippy and probably once one other time in an arcade. But the thing is, I fell in love with it and I've never forgotten it. And it's a game that I return to on our arcade machine time and again. Basically, you fly over this grid-like landscape with a bird's eye view of the action. You hurtle towards the horizon. Your ship can move left, right, forwards, backwards, diagonally and tends to stay in the bottom half of the screen. You have one laser and the capability of warp, which is a bit like a hyperspace. Waves of alien craft try and kill you, and every third or fourth level the enemies appear in a formation and attack in a specific pattern. You have 3 warps per level, and hitting warp sends you into hyperspace to appear somewhere else randomly on the screen, and to be honest it can be more trouble than it's worth, so I don't tend to ever use it at all. Now every now and then a meteor looking like capsule appears, and if you shoot this an alien spaceman will appear. And if you catch this little fella, the screen changes colour and enemy ships are now worth 200 points or so for a small period of time. The enemies don't shoot back either during this period. At the top of the screen is a kind of radar that shows you where the aliens are going to appear at the top of the screen on the horizon, and that's pretty much it. So to kick off with, let's have a look at some gameplay from the arcade version. Right, this is the arcade version from 1983. So let's see how I get on. I'm sure they've taken that laser sound from Defender. Sounds like it, doesn't it? There's our little alien spaceman. So now each enemy is worth 200, and you'll see they've stopped shooting at me. Yeah, I've loved this game ever since I first played it. It's such a good game to play. It's alright, I'm trying to focus and talk at the same time, which I do find difficult. A lot faster than a lot of the other space games of the time. Oh, there's our little capsule again. Trying to get some points. We'll miss that one, that's not good, is it? So here is a formation level, and I blew it, completely blew it. Bit like Gallagher, they all fly in formation, allowing you to really rack your score up a bit. Some of those bullets are actually guided, and they are an absolute pain, because if you carry on flying forwards in a straight line they will hit you, so you're continually having to change direction to avoid that sort of stuff. Damn! I'm not doing too well here, am I? Whoa. Yeah, that's definitely homing in on me, isn't it? Like I say, this is one of those games I can just sit and play for hours. I'm supposed to be showing you lot this game, but I'm just going to sit here and play for a bit, if that's okay. Because I really enjoy this. I think if Defender had such easy controls, I'd have got on with it a lot more. The thing with Defender was there's just too many buttons and controls, and people will say, yeah, but that's the skill of playing Defender. And you know what? You're right. You're not wrong. Ah, damn, I missed him. You're not wrong. I just could never get on with it. Too many buttons. Too much going on the screen, and I couldn't really focus on what button was where to get me out of trouble. Whoa, Jesus Christ. This is brilliant. Come here. Gets very frantic. Which I think I said in the voiceover, actually. It does get very fast and frantic. Jesus Christ. My God. There you go, arcade version of Juno First. Right, let's take a look at the MSX one next. Okay, so MSX version developed by Konami in 1983, published by Sony. And of course the MSX underpowered compared to the arcade machine. But it doesn't look too bad. There's a lot of enemies there. In fact, there's quite a bit going on. So I'm going to accelerate a bit. And the one thing I notice is you don't get that sense of speed, that sense of rushing towards the horizon that you get with the arcade version. The enemies do come at you thick and fast, whoa, very fast if you accelerate, but you don't get that sense of speed. The grid doesn't seem to show you movement like the arcade version. The sound is very simplified, of course. Yep, the sound is a lot more simple than the arcade version, so I'm going to shut up and just have a play. It's actually quite tricky. Those enemies do fire thick and fast. That explosion's a bit disappointing. It just seems to centralise in the middle of the screen. Now, incidentally, I bought this from a lovely chap in Belgium called Laurent Zebulon, which is a great name, actually. And it's his fault that I went and bought the Atari 2600 as well, because he asked me whether I'd played the 2600 version, and I said no. And he said, well, you need to go and get it, and he sent me a link to it. So thanks, Laurent. You made me get 2 copies of Juno First when I only wanted 1. Right, back to the game. I'm stuck in the corner, because as you can see, they're all coming down the right hand side of the screen. I'm going to slow down. Hang on, slow down. Their bullets are fast. That's slow, isn't it? The way that kind of like thing appears. So I'm going to slow down a bit. My God, those bullets are deadly accurate and they're very fast. They're faster than the arcade version, I'm sure they are. Right, let's try again. Must focus. Come on, focus, focus, focus. Jesus, those bullets are fast. Okay, I'm going to put on a bit of speed. Sorry for the clicky joystick, it's Attack 2. And it's my favourite joystick. Oh, let's pick up the little bloke. So, like the arcade machine, you have 99 seconds to complete the wave. Except the score is on the right hand side instead of over the top. The radar still tells you where they're going to appear on the horizon, but do you know what? This is tricky. Those bullets are very fast and deadly accurate. Bloody hell. I'm crap at this. Let's try again. It's not bad for an 8-bit version. I think back in 1983. I mean, 83 was very new in the MSX's life anyway. Had I been bought this in 1983 for home, I would have been very happy with it. But looking at it now, I think you don't get that sense. Oh my god, I'm crap. Looking at it now, you don't get that sense of speed that you do on the arcade version. It almost feels like you're standing still. The only way I know I'm moving is... I mean, those enemies could be just walking towards me, couldn't they? It doesn't feel like I'm going across a landscape at all. Let's have one last go. So, what's going to be interesting is the MSX home computer is a fair bit more powerful than the Atari 2600. So, right, let's go to the Atari version. Here's the homebrew version of Juno First on the Atari 2600. What's interesting is this is a 32K cartridge, I think, whereas the MSX cartridge is 8K. Ordered from Atari Age. I can't remember how much it was now, $30 or something like that. Posted here to the UK. It arrived very, very quickly actually, so great service from Atari Age. It has a lovely printed manual with it, and I think you can buy a boxed version as well. This was just the cartridge and the instruction leaflet, and it is very well presented. Some lovely artwork there. I'm going to run this on an Atari 7800, not the 2600, and the only reason I'm doing that is because this console is modded for composite video, so it should be easier to screen grab. I recognise this music. I knew I'd heard it before, and it took me a while to figure out where I'd heard it from. It's actually the music from Silkworm on the Amiga. I don't know about other versions, but that music is taken from the Amiga version of Silkworm. And what you notice immediately is the sense of speed. I mean, look at it. That landscape scrolls a lot faster than it did on the MSX version, or you get a sensation of speed here. Do you know what? I can't believe this is on a 2600. This is absolutely brilliant. How did he do this? How did he squeeze this out of a 2600? It's very, very playable. Very playable. Very fast. Just like Juno First should be. Do you know what? It makes the MSX version look like it's standing still. Really nice and colourful. And it shouldn't, should it? Really? I mean, the 2600 was out long before the MSX. MSX should walk on the 2600, but it doesn't. This is really good. It's much more responsive, much faster than the MSX version. Absolute joy to play. I tell you something, if I'd have seen this in 1983 on the 2600, I'd be like, you what? You're having a laugh. This would have made me go out and buy a 2600 straight away, but there weren't 32K cartridges back then. I messaged Howard Scott Forshaw last night actually, and I said to him, back in 1983, what size cartridges were you rolling out? And he said, I think he said about between 4 and 8K cartridges. And I said, well, how much do you think a 32K cartridge would have been in 1983? He says it would have been astronomical, unheard of. Didn't have 32K cartridges in 1983, but had they had, it would have been ridiculously expensive to produce this game. Probably fine, the game would have cost more than the console itself back then. This is superb. You know, oh dear. If somebody had said to me in 83, that there'd be a game coming out on the Atari 2600 in the year 2021. Juno First, I would not believe it. I'd have gone, are you mad? I mean, come on, it's 2021. We should be flying, you know, we should have hovering cars. We should be living on the moon right now. We should have spaceships and everything. But you know what? We haven't got any of those things that I thought we'd have by 2021. And here we are playing a homebrew game on an Atari 2600. That's an absolute joy to play. Oh, the world is a strange place, isn't it? Oh, Jesus. Ship's nice and responsive. You get that lovely plume out the front of the ship, look, when you go into reverse, just like the arcade version. Have I said, this is amazing. This is so good. Sorry about the clicky joystick again, it's my TAC2. It's colourful, it's smooth, there's a tiny bit of flicker on some of the enemies, but nothing you haven't seen before on the 2600, but on the whole, technically, this is very, very good indeed. I love it, absolutely love it. Well worth having in your collection if you like collecting cartridges for Ataris. And like I say, this is running on a 7800. Purely because I've got composite video out on my on my 7800. I haven't got that on the heavy 6er. It's just RF. Right, so there you have it. Some final thoughts. Yeah, I think the Atari version is outstanding. It's head and shoulders more playable than the MSX version, which is very surprising. I love the MSX home computer platform. And considering the MSX version was actually coded by Konami itself and published by Sony, I did expect it to be better. It's okay, it's not that it's bad, it just doesn't have that sense of pace and movement that I'd say the Atari version has got. You'd expect the MSX to walk all over the 2600 version, but it doesn't. And yeah, we didn't have 32K cartridges back in the early 80s, it would have cost us a fortune, but just look what someone's managed to squeeze out of the 2600. It's 2021, it's over 30 years later, and if somebody had said to me back then as a kid, you know, in the year 2021, you're going to be playing Juno First on an Atari 2600. There's no way on this earth I would have believed them. Not at all. This just goes to show what can be done with old hardware all these years later when there are no time constraints and there's no people in suits pushing and shoving you to get a game out of the door. There's also a much better understanding of the hardware and what's involved and what it's actually capable of doing. This 2600 version is amazing, and hats off to Chris Walton. He's made an amazing job here. Hats off to everyone involved, actually. Now, if you want a copy of Juno First for the 2600, you can order it directly from Atari Age. I think it's about $25 for the game and the brochure. If you want a boxed copy, I think that's an extra $15. But I highly recommend it. If you're a fan of this game, go and snap it up. It's absolutely superb. So what am I going to say? Obviously, the arcade version is by far my favourite version. The 2600 version, superb, brilliant. MSX comes in at third place for me, to be honest with you, and I can't say about the Commodore 64, I've not played it. Hope you enjoyed that look at Juno First here on Retro Shed. Take care, and we will catch you again very soon. Bye bye now.